Hey there, fellow gamers. Today I decided not to mess around and dive into speed, nitrous oxide, and that amazing feeling of freedom, all in racing format. And I mean all different styles too. From drifting to drag racing, street races, you name it. So basically, everyone's going to find something they love here. So let's not waste any time. Let's go. Forza Horizon 5. This is just an incredibly beautiful, atmospheric, and addictive arcade racer that had me hooked from the very first minutes. Mexico in this game looks so realistic and alive that sometimes you forget it's just a game. You've got tropical jungles, deserts, snowy volcanoes, and colorful towns. The variety of locations is just mind-blowing, guys. But you know what got me the most? That feeling of absolute freedom. You can race anywhere, however you want, in whatever you want. Want to cruise a Lamborghini down the beach? Go for it. Maybe grab a buggy and tear through the jungle, smashing everything in your path. No problem. The game has over 500 cars and each one feels different. From classic muscle cars to modern hypercars, there's everything your heart desires. The gameplay is incredibly smooth and responsive. Even if you're not a racing fan, Horizon 5 will hook you with its accessibility. You don't need to be a pro to have fun. The game forgives mistakes and lets you just enjoy the process. And the races, guys, festivals, drag races, cross-country, drift zones. The variety of activities is just off the charts. And yeah, the game looks absolutely amazing, especially on next-gen or a powerful PC. Mexican sunsets, reflections on cars, nature detail. It's all movie-level quality. Sometimes you just park your ride somewhere on a hill and admire the scenery. Trust me, guys, I've already spent over 200 hours on this game, and it still hasn't gotten old. They constantly add new content, cars, events. This is that game where you can jump in for 30 minutes and crawl out 5 hours later. If you haven't tried Forza Horizon 5 yet, you're missing out big time. This is the best arcade racer of recent years, no doubt about it. Need for Speed Unbound. Guys, I'll be honest. When I saw the first Unbound trailers, I was shocked. What's with these cartoon effects? Why all this graffiti and anime explosions? The NFS series hadn't been great in recent years, and it seemed like the developers had completely lost direction. But you know what? I was wrong, and boy was I wrong. Unbound is the freshest and boldest entry in the series in a long time. Yeah, the visual style is controversial. These comic book effects during drifting and turbo won't appeal to everyone. But man, it works. The game literally radiates energy and style. Neon streets, underground races, police chases, everything is presented with such vibe that you immediately get into the atmosphere. The gameplay became much more skill-demanding than in previous parts. You can't just floor the gas pedal, like you need to think about when to use nitro, how to take corners. The nitro system has changed dramatically, now it's a whole tactic. And the police chases? Folks, it's pure fire. The cops have become more aggressive and smarter. Car customization is also on point. You can create insane designs that perfectly fit the game's overall aesthetic. And the soundtrack? That's a separate topic. Hip-hop tracks perfectly complement all this street culture. Yeah, the game turned out controversial. Some will find the style too flashy, others will find the gameplay too complex. But personally, I think the developers finally took a risk and created something truly new. After a bunch of forgettable entries, Unbound is at least memorable. This is a case where the experiment succeeded. Dakar Desert Rally. Guys, you know what real extreme is? It's when you're tearing through the desert at 93 miles per hour, can't see past your hood because of a sandstorm, and you're trying not to break your neck on the next dune. That's exactly the feeling Dakar Desert Rally conveys better than any other game. This game isn't just a race, it's survival in the harshest conditions. There are no familiar tracks with barriers here. There's only a compass, a road book, and your ability to read terrain. Getting lost is easy as pie, and one navigation mistake can cost you the entire race. The vehicle variety is also amazing. Motorcycles, quads, buggies, trucks. Each class requires a completely different approach. On a motorcycle, you fly like crazy, but the slightest mistake and hello, sand. On a truck, you can smash through any obstacle, but maneuverability is non-existent. The graphics convey all the harshness of the desert. Sandstorms, scorching sun, endless dunes. The atmosphere is just stunning. And when you finally see the finish line after several hours of battling the desert, emotions just go through the roof. Yeah, the game is tough and requires patience. Newcomers might find it too hardcore. But if you want to feel like a real Dakar rally participant, you won't find a better simulator. There's just one little problem. Arcade players think it's too hard, while hardcore players think it's too arcade-like, which is why Steam reviews aren't the most positive. However, at least for the unique desert racing experience, it deserves a chance. Dirt Rally 2.0. Well, this game is for real connoisseurs of struggle while driving. If you think you know how to drive a car, Dirt Rally 2.0 will quickly put you in your place. This is the most ruthless and realistic rally simulator I've ever tried. There's no room for mistakes here, no restarts, just you, your car, and narrow forest roads at 125 miles per hour. The co-driver's screaming turns in your ear while you try not to fly into the bushes on another right 2 after crest. The car physics is so realistic that every surface feels different. Mud, snow, asphalt, gravel, everywhere needs its own approach to control. Damage is also real. Landed too hard after a jump, the suspension will make itself known until the end of the stage. Overheated the engine? You'll have to slow down the pace. This system makes you think not only about speed but also about keeping the car intact. The locations are just gorgeous, from snowy Norwegian fjords to dusty New Zealand roads. Each country has its own character and features, and the views that open up during the race, breathtaking. Honestly, friends, this game isn't for everyone. It requires time, patience, and the desire to learn. In some cases, even having a wheel with pedals for precise throttle and brake control, or at least a gamepad. But if you're ready to accept the challenge, Dirt Rally 2.0 will give you unforgettable emotions and the feeling of real rally. This is the genre standard. Recharge. But let's not just talk about real cars. Racing also happens with remote-controlled versions. In real life, this is a real hobby where you can spend quite decent money upgrading suspension and choosing the best brands. And if you're not sure you're ready for that, you can try yourself in the virtual version. Here you have several modes to choose from a single campaign that's mainly created to familiarize you with the game mechanics, to multiplayer where real aces of toy racing meet. It all starts with choosing the car type, its detailed setup from motors and suspension, to the external frame that can also be tuned differently. Then you go out to one of several maps recreated from real existing tracks to challenge your opponents. The graphics in the game is a separate treat for the eyes as it's made on Unreal Engine 5, which on one hand gives just incredible visuals, sometimes indistinguishable from real life, and on the other hand, makes the game not very optimized. Add to this early access on Steam, and sometimes crashes or freezes can happen. But that's what early access is for. The game is raw but very promising. If the developers continue to refine it, this will be almost the best game in the genre. True, it's only available on PC for now. Console release is expected in the future. Wreckfest 2. Friends, another early access game that's a continuation of the cult racing arcade that simply has no equal. Because while regular racing is built on coming first to the finish, here that's far from the main thing. Much more important is actually reaching the finish at all, because on the way, your car can simply be destroyed. And opponents will do it quite spectacularly with broken glass, torn wheels, and deformed body. It's this detail, realistic physics of not only car behavior but also their destruction, that became the series' signature back in the flat-out days. Well, Wreckfest is the spiritual successor from the same developers, just with better graphics. And damn friends, how cool it is not just to stay in the circle, but to rush from side to side destroying opponents' cars. For madmen like me, there's even a separate derby mode here, the essence of which is to be the last survivor in the arena. And for this, you need not only to avoid opponents flying at your car, but also try to ram them at maximum speed yourself. And the most fun is, of course, multiplayer up to 32 real players who, just like you, will strive to destroy all opponents. This game gives adrenaline not just from racing, it injects into your blood like nitrous oxide, a bit of Mad Max gambling. So much so that you don't even notice early access details. JDM Japanese Drift Master. The first and only open-world racing game where you can race Japanese cars on Japanese streets in the fictional Guntamo Prefecture with 250 kilometers of roads from mountain serpentines to city streets. As you understood, we're riding around Japan's world, drifting on turns, tuning cars in garages, and participating in street races or challenges. Naturally, you'll have to collect money for upgrades from engines and suspension to visual tuning like neon or spoilers like in good old Underground. Exploring the map with hidden spots, drifting in rain or at night for extra points. Or you can just come after work, launch this thing, and with indescribable pleasure just chill, riding through mountains and enjoying decent graphics while listening to some funk in your ears. The physics here is semi-casual, so both those who still ride on arrow keys and workers who need more realism will figure it out. Overall, a very good thing. Uncrashed FPV Drone Simulator. Guys, I'll admit, when I saw the title, I first thought, what do drones have to do with racing games? But then I realized it's genius. FPV drones are real racing, just in the air. This game really quality simulates first-person flights, and there are tracks with car races that you need to fly around. It turns out to be a race within a race. Imagine rushing at insane speed between trees, flying through narrow openings, making sharp turns on the edge of stalling. No less adrenaline than in any car race. FPV piloting requires incredible reaction and spatial thinking. There are no roads here, no limitations, just your skills and physics laws. Crashed? Fell? The game title kind of hints that falls are inevitable here, but at least you can learn without risking breaking an expensive drone in reality. But an interesting mechanic is implemented here. When the drone collides with something, it doesn't just break, but remains in a damaged state with the ability to restore its position and continue flying. Which may not be so realistic, but is also very interesting, controlling a slightly damaged drone. True, the game needs at least a regular gamepad, and better yet, a special drone controller and VR headset to get maximum emotions. When you fly at huge speed, trees and other surroundings rush past, and you literally feel the wind in your face. Damn, words can't describe it. In the format of adrenaline racing, albeit without cars, the game gives those emotions you expect. The Crew Motorfest. Damn, guys, when I found out the new Crew game would take place in Hawaii, my heart skipped with anticipation. And you know what? The developers didn't disappoint. Motorfest is a real celebration of car culture under palm trees and against volcanic backdrops. The festival concept is a bit derivative and reminds of Forza Horizon, but damn, what's wrong with borrowing from the best? Instead of boring career mode, you're offered to participate in themed playlists, from Japanese drift culture to American muscle cars. Each playlist is a separate story with its own features and atmosphere. Hawaii looks just stunning. Tropical beaches, mountain serpentines, city quarters, volcanic lava. The variety of locations is amazing. And what sunsets. Sometimes you just stop and admire the views. There's just an insane amount of cars here, and from supercars to monster trucks. Each feels different, the physics became much better than previous parts. You can rush on asphalt, mess up dirt off-road, and cut through water on a boat. Multiplayer is also addictive. Constant events, competitions, ability to create your own tracks. With friends, you can get stuck for long hours. Yeah, the game requires constant internet, which irritates some people. But if that's not critical, Motorfest will give you hundreds of hours of pleasure in a paradise corner. Automobilista 2. Friends, if you're looking for a truly hardcore racing simulator, one that people even build special racing setups at home for, Automobilista 2 is your choice. This game is created by Brazilian developers who know their stuff about racing and don't compromise for casual audiences. The physics here is so realistic that every car feels alive. From Formula 1 to stock cars, from karts to prototypes, each class requires a completely different approach. You can't just stomp the pedal and hope for the best. The development of Brazilian tracks is especially impressive. Interlagos, Jacarepaguá, these legendary circuits are recreated with fanatical accuracy. But there are also tons of international tracks, from Spa to Nürburgring. Car setup here is at the level of professional simulators. You can spend hours tinkering with suspension, aerodynamics, gears. and every change really affects the car's behavior on track. Graphics may not be the most modern, but the atmosphere is conveyed perfectly, especially cool night races in the rain. Adrenaline goes through the roof. Yeah, Automobilista 2 is definitely not for beginners, but if you're serious about motorsport and want to feel like a real racer, it's hard to find a better simulator. This is a game for those ready to learn and improve. Descenders? Friends, this is a completely different story. Descenders isn't about cars, it's about mountain bikes and crazy tricks on slopes. And you know what? This is one of the most addictive extreme games I've tried. The concept is simple. You descend a mountain on a bike, perform tricks, score points, and try not to crash. But damn, what a rush. The bike physics is so realistic that every jump, every landing feels very natural. Procedural track generation is a genius solution. Every descent is unique. You never know what awaits you around the corner. Maybe a steep ramp, maybe a tricky rock that'll send you flying. The risk system adds excitement. The more you risk, the more points you get. But one mistake and you're done for. This mechanic makes you constantly balance between caution and aggression. The soundtrack is pure fire. Drum and bass tracks perfectly complement all this extreme atmosphere. And when you nail a perfect trick to great music, emotions just go through the roof. Descenders proves you don't need four wheels to get an adrenaline rush. If you love extreme sports and aren't afraid of falling, definitely give it a try. Art of Rally. But let's step away from the classic racing representation a bit. Sometimes you encounter games that amaze not with realism, but with their incredible atmosphere and style. Art of Rally is exactly such a game. This isn't just rally, it's a real work of art in pixels. The minimalist graphics might seem too simple at first, but literally after a couple minutes you realize, this is genius. Pastel colors, soft shadows, laconic design, all this creates a unique atmosphere of calm and tranquility. Control is maximally simple but very precise. No complex settings, no hardcore. You just sit down and enjoy the process. The car glides on the track like butter, and the engine sound caresses your ears. Locations are simply mesmerizing. Snowy Finland, autumn Germany, sunny Sardinia. Each country has its own unique style. And what sunsets! You can just stop and admire the landscapes. The soundtrack deserves separate mention. Calm electronic music perfectly complements the game's visual style. This is a meditative experience that helps you relax after a hard day. Art of Rally isn't a game for those looking for extreme and adrenaline. It's for those who want aesthetic pleasure and to immerse themselves in a world of beauty and harmony. Bounty Drag Racing. And so, friends, since I decided to collect the most diverse games in one genre format in this video, of course we can't do without drag racing, where there's no speed limit, no need to steer the car, at least after the start. The main thing is properly tuning your racing machine, setting suspension stiffness, choosing the right wheels, making the body light or conversely heavier. Basically, everything you need to beat your opponent on a long straight by at least a fraction of a second. And here there are not only classic races on tracks prepared for this, but also, let's say, more amateur ones. There are street races on regular roads with correspondingly more classic cars, and sand races where you need to prepare your car almost like a Mars rover. So yeah, the main thing here isn't even the race itself, that's just the cherry on top of the car tuning cake, where you need to disassemble engines of all different types, from 4 to 8 cylinders, rotary, or diesel. And what's especially funny, you can change the engine right on the track, just in case you decide to make adjustments to your car. All this gives not only that feeling of speed when everything around blurs and vision turns into a small dot in the center, but also the pleasure of victory when you spent an hour tuning your car and it came first to the finish. These, friends, are indescribable emotions that I wish you to experience too. Monster Jam Showdown. Damn, guys, just the name makes your heart beat faster. Monster Jam is pure adrenaline on 4 house-sized wheels, and Showdown really conveys all the power and spectacle of these steel monsters. Maybe not like in real life, but here we can become the driver of this monster that, thanks to arcade physics, controls very easily. Well, obviously easier than a real monster truck, though I've never sat behind its wheel. But somehow it seems that way to me. Here, the game offers diverse racing and trick modes, including classic races, freestyle with jumps and tricks, and survival races. And all this, which just blows your mind, with many legendary monster trucks like Gravedigger, El Toro Loco, Megalodon, and others familiar to every fan. And though I mentioned arcade physics, this only applies to control simplicity. The cars themselves feel heavy and monstrous, as they should be, and diverse locations, including stadiums and picturesque natural places. Deserts, forests, icy territories won't let you get bored, especially if you play with friends in co-op, both local, even on one screen, and in multiplayer up to 8 players. CarX Street. Well, since this is strictly a racing top list, let's finish with a more classic representative of the genre that took a little bit from everyone. Moreover, starting as a mobile game but making its way to a full PC version, which is extremely atypical. The PC version is a completely different game that can boldly compete with Forza Horizon in scale and beauty of the open world. When I first launched it on max settings, my jaw just dropped from this visual extravaganza. The open world here is just huge. Modern megacities, mountain serpentines, coastal highways, industrial districts, and the graphics? Man, just unreal. RTX reflections on wet asphalt, detailed textures, realistic lighting. This isn't a game anymore, it's an interactive movie. Drifting here, of course, remained the developer's signature feature, but it's just one of many activities. Street races, drag races, circuit races, time attacks. The variety is just amazing. Each mode is worked out to the smallest detail, with its own features and mechanics. The car fleet is impressive, from Japanese classics to modern supercars. Each ride feels different, physics at the highest level. And the customization. You can create a real tuning masterpiece that will stand out from the crowd. The atmosphere of the night city with lighting and neon creates that very vibe of street racing. And during the day, you can enjoy the beauty of nature on country tracks. CarX Street on PC proves that Russian developers can create world-class games. This is a serious competitor to Western arcade racers. And that's all for today. Of course, there are many more good racing games that I just didn't have time to talk about in this video, but I'll definitely fix this in the next racing compilation if you support this with your like. And of course, don't forget to write your favorite racing games in the comments. This way you'll help me and other viewers who scroll down to the comments. Huge thanks for watching till the end. Don't forget to subscribe and see you next time.